I earned my degree online at Arizona State University. I chose to get my degree at ASU because I knew that I'd get a quality education, they were recognized for excellence, and that I would be prepared for the workforce upon graduating. To be associated with ASU, both as a student and alum, it makes me extremely proud, and having experienced the program, I know now that I'm set up for success. Learn more at asuonline.asu.edu.
She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold. She is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold. She is you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Word of Mom Radio here on the Word of Mom Media Network. I'm your host, Dori DeCarlo, and you know we are here week after week, show after show, breaking those myths that mompreneurs and businesswomen, especially those of us building our businesses from home, that we're just dabbling in between bake sales and getting our nails done, we're not. We are smart, we are savvy, and we are sharing the wisdom of women in business and in life, and I'm looking forward to bringing today's guest into our show. Rhonda Nelson, renowned patient advocate, author, speaker, and philanthropist, is a beacon of resilience and strength. Her charitable work spans championing equitable access to affordable health care, supporting those diagnosed with AERD, which is Aspirin Exacerbated Respiratory Disease, serving as a voice in the foster care system, and encouraging women to reinvent themselves in their different stages of life. Rhonda serves on the executive board of directors with the Asthma and Allergy Network, impacts legislation and speaks nationally, raising awareness for AERD. Having dealt with it herself for more than 20 years, she has experienced many misdiagnoses, near fatal struggle to find relief, a desperate search for answers, and a constant journey to access proper support. Rhonda and her husband Wayne of the Little River Band tirelessly devote their time and resources to helping others navigate this challenging medical journey frequently associated with severe respiratory disease. Rhonda's a firm believer in empowering women to pursue their dreams they have for their lives, regardless of age, while finding strength in overcoming challenges. In her book, A Different Life, Rhonda not only pulls back the curtain on celebrity life, but also offers readers the chance to hear never-before-told stories, enjoy treasured family recipes and photos, while getting a taste of all the things pertaining to life on the road. And I'm actually going to bring her back for her book because her philanthropic work and the work that she is doing in patient advocacy and everything is so important. And we're going to devote this episode to that, and we'll bring her back to the author's alley because A Different Life has got to be a really great book to share. So with all that being said, Rhonda, welcome to Word of Mom Radio.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It's a pleasure.
It's my absolute pleasure. And, you know, for people who don't, since we're talking about AERD, for people who do not know what that is, I would love for you to share that journey with us.
Absolutely. Aspirin Exacerbated Respiratory Disease. In the early days when I was first diagnosed, it was called Samter's Triad because it is a triad of three components. One is nasal polyps, one is asthma, and one is the sensitivity to aspirin and NSAIDs, or basically you're allergic to aspirin and NSAIDs. That's the component that makes this disease quite difficult to diagnose because people present with chronic nasal polyps, chronic sinus infections, chronic asthma. And so a lot of times they're just treated for those things. But when they are treated for just those components, they find that they're not getting better. And it's typically because, number one, they don't know they're sensitive to aspirin or NSAIDs. But number two, those are two common medications that a majority of people will take at some point. We've always been told to take an aspirin, a small baby aspirin when you get a certain age, for your heart, cardiovascular issues or to prevent them. And we use NSAIDs for a myriad of things, right? So diagnosis can be very tricky. And that's exactly what happened to me. It took me about 2 years to get diagnosed. It started out with what I thought was a cold, just continued to not get better, not get better. If anything, I was getting worse. I had never had problems with seasonal allergies. I'd never had allergies as a kid. I'd never had asthma as a kid or a young adult. So these things were, when this started to just snowball, I really didn't know what was going on. And kind of the telltale piece of the puzzle was I was constantly congested, constantly wheezing. My nasal passages were completely impacted with nasal polyps. And I would take Tylenol PM to sleep. And within 45 minutes to an hour, I would go into what now I know was an asthmatic or an anaphylactic reaction to that. And so that began putting the puzzle together. So that was in 2000. It took until 2002 to get a diagnosis. It still wasn't a really well-known or very often diagnosed disease. And so for me, it was multiple doctors before I actually got the diagnosis, because one physician did start me on allergy shots, and that actually made me worse. So it was quite the journey. In that period, there were times when, random things would set the anaphylaxis off, like going into a hotel room and there would be mold in the room and I would start to breathe it. And then that would just, immediately trigger. So I had several near fatal experiences when I was out on the road with my husband. We were able to get to the hospital, but I was pretty darn close to my throat completely seizing up. And so that was really the beginning of knowing that this disease needed awareness. I knew there had to be other people out there that were dealing with this, but nobody was talking about it. Also, back then, and I know back then sounds like I would be talking about a long time ago, but in the medical world, medicines can change and come and go, and new medicines come about. And back then, which was 24 years ago now, there weren't a lot of great, you had to, your medical team had to put together basically a cocktail of medications to keep it maintained. And what works for one or two doesn't work for all. That's the other kind of weird component of this is, I'm in a lot of forums. I talk to a lot of people with this disease and I hear a lot of stories, and everybody's just their teams are trying to find what medications will keep them very well maintained. Because when you're not breathing at capacity, you have low energy, you have brain fog, you don't have the stamina to do all of the things that you need to do as a mom, as a business owner, as a wife, keeping up with your kids and all of that. Life is hard enough. You add on a breathing component that's bogging you down, and it's tough. It's really tough. I am happy to say that now there are quite a few new medications. They're biologics, but they are really working wonders for AERD patients, and we're seeing a lot of success rate with those. They do come with side effects like other drugs, but then that's where you, as your own patient advocate, has to decide what is really right for your body and what medication works for you. And then you have to, it's an absolute must, you have to advocate with your doctors, and you have to get them to hear you. They don't just sit there and tell them the story and then they say, this is what, this, and this. You have to advocate, because they only see us for a very short amount of time, each appointment, right? They don't know what goes on the other 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So it's very important that we as patients go in prepared to our visits to share, what has been going on at home, what maybe you've started on a new medication regimen, and what is happening, what are you seeing, are there things that have popped up that aren't the norm for you? Those are all things that it's vitally important to share with your medical team.
It's very interesting because I'm flashing back to my children's childhoods. And 30 years ago, I was really fortunate that our pediatrician, my oldest, had allergies. And my pediatrician knows me. I try to fight like with like. It's not that I don't use antibiotics and things like that, but I feel if you constantly take stuff, you're kind of negating the immune system that we have. So he sent me to the health food store and he said, let's start with bee pollen. He said, and then get local honey and take a teaspoon a day. Because at that point he was 5, so he didn't have to worry about spores and things like that. Because he said, I can give you children's Claritin, but I know you. And you know what? I don't know, still catches in my throat. He's 37 and he takes his teaspoon. Sometimes allergies do not bother him. And then other times, but that's what he'll do. And fortunately, his wife is the same way with that. But for so many moms, they don't realize all of the things, it could be their clothing. It could be pet. It could be the silliest and simplest of things that are allergies. And they're trying to find the answers. And it gets so frustrating because quite often doctors, let's face it, they get their degree and then they're done. That's why I always went to physician's assistants rather than a doctor. I prefer the PA who every 6 months has to go back for quality assurance and this and that. And so I felt like they would always be more up to date in what you could do and everything else. So how can moms help themselves handling these allergies and stuff like that and not give up hope when it's so frustrating finding out what's triggering everything?
Yeah, I also think one theory behind AERD, I was given just an enormous amount of antibiotics in a period of my life. And there is some consideration, if you will, that is what led to, I don't want to say it was the cause, but it contributed to the cause of me developing this disease. And so I've become really hyper aware of things like that because I think we live in a society where physicians, especially because they are under the gun to see as many patients as possible in a day. And so let's throw a medication that is really a Band-Aid. It's not curing the cause. So I'm probably one of the unique people who sit with one leg on each side of the fence post. I take a biologic right now because I have this disease and I have to take that biologic to keep my quality of life at the level that I want to live at. Do I love putting that drug into my body? No. But everything that happened in my early years created the situation. But I go a step farther, and I am a really firm believer in a lot of modalities that help you in a way that aren't a chemical compounded medication, right? We don't classify AERD as an autoimmune disease yet. I believe as research goes along that we will probably see it under that umbrella of diseases because let's face it, if you've got nasal polyps and you've got asthma, there's inflammation in your body, right? So I struggle with that too, but that's a whole nother story, a whole nother soapbox. But having said that, I use a lot of non-conventional modalities and therapies to keep me at the level that I want to be in as far as my quality of life. Yes, I know the drug is doing that, but I also feel like if I could wean off of that or at least space it out farther, I'm being proactive against my disease, right? Infrared, sauna, red light therapy, lymphatic drainage, cupping, dry needling, chiropractic care. Those are all things that I absolutely believe in. And I think you were asking about moms and what goes on now. We also live in a society where things are not pure or not even as close to pure as they used to be. And so I struggle. I feel bad for the moms because we have so much, forgive me, crap in our foods, in the clothing that we wear, in the detergents that we use, in the household products that we use. And so it's almost a full-time job for someone to try to navigate that and figure out what can I do to keep my children healthy and safe, right? On top of being able to navigate it, then you have to be able to afford it, because all of those products and things are expensive. The modalities and the treatments are not covered by insurance. And so it's just this awful snow globe situation where I just feel like people are in it and they're like, I have to get out of this and do something more proactive for my family or for myself. And it's tough. We live in a very tough society.
On that note, really think of what Rhonda's talking about. We're going to take a quick break and say thank you to our sponsors, and we'll be back here in just a moment on Word of Mom Radio. She is brave, she is bold, she is you, and we want to tell your story. Are you ready to share your journey with us on Word of Mom Radio? Go to wordofmomradio.com and register as a guest. We want to tell your story because when you win, we all win.
In 2017, Unsilenced Voices was formed to help survivors of domestic abuse and gender-based violence worldwide. The organization currently serves Sierra Leone, Rwanda, Ghana, and the USA. In 2022, Unsilenced Voices gifted over $33,000 to survivors in the USA. And in Sierra Leone, there are over 26 young girls who have been rescued from sex trafficking and domestic abuse and now going through vocational training school in order to better their lives. We need your help. Donations are critical in order for us to continue our work. We also need volunteers to help with research and development. Please visit unsilencedvoices.org for more information.
And we're back here on Word of Mom Radio. We are talking with Rhonda Nelson just about the allergy journey. You are preaching to the choir. It catches in my throat. 37 years ago, when my son was born, I washed cloth diapers. Because how am I supposed to teach my kids about not leaving a huge carbon footprint? And I wasn't going to wash their diapers in all temperature. So I actually started using Shackley products, which were completely organic. My kids at 18 months old had their own spray bottles because, you were so good, Mommy's going to let you help me clean the bathroom. And they could drink anything under the sink and they might wind up with diarrhea. And It's funny because my niece, whose daughters are going to be 8, this month we do a family party every year. And there she is with all of her organics and whatnot, because I was a Trader Joe's shopper and an Aldi shopper. I don't know how people can afford to eat and not shop at these stores, because I've always tried to eat as organic as I can and single foods. And here she is. And I told her how proud I was. And she goes, you know what, Aunt Dee Dee, you set the bar. She said, you were doing this decades before people were thinking about it. And my daughter one time had a cough and said to her dad's like, we need to take you to CVS to get you some Triaminic. And she just put her little hands on her hips. She was 4. Have Mommy taught you nothing? We'll go to Mrs. Green's. I'll call for the apothecary. He'll tell me what we need. Oh, okay, honey. There he was 6'3", and there he is, 4 inches tall, getting in the car and have Mommy taught you nothing? And again, now my kids are adults, and all 3 of them have followed that same path.
Yeah.
And sadly, moms go to a doctor when anybody goes to the doctor. If the doctor's not writing them a prescription, the doctor's not doing their job. And that's really what we come down to. We don't want to talk to the doctor about what alternatives, rather than putting me on this, what can I do naturally? I got lucky. My pediatrician respected that I wanted to do this. So if my kids had strep, give me that antibiotic.
Yeah.
That's why antibiotics work. But if you're constantly bombarding your system with things, and I don't think people, and again, it's because you're looking for ways to remedy something, especially as a mom for your kids. And so you'll try things, but how do you help moms navigate that and look at those natural or alternatives that are actually going to build your immune system?
Right. Well, and You know, sadly, we live in a society right now that is pretty volatile when we start to talk about this, right? So I think I'm going to just guesstimate. I have a lot of friends that have daughters that are young moms now, and we have conversations. I think moms are starting to realize that what the doctor tells them in the prescription they give them is not the wherewithal and be withal and the end all. They're starting to question, number one, which I think is great. They're starting to look at things and be more open to a more organic, if you will, way of life, a more clean way of life, despite all the crap that is floating around us. But again, here's the problem. And here's, I don't know the answer to this, but I won't stop talking about it. A big problem, like you mentioned, Shackley, we should not have to join some kind of multi-level marketing, be a part of something like that in order to get products of that quality, right? But for the most part, that's kind of what you got to do. You
Well,
don't go to Walmart and see those kinds of products on the shelves.
you actually can. There's a company called Ecos, ECOS.
Okay.
You can get it at Walmart. You can get it at most grocery stores now.
Yes.
They
And
have
I mean,
great,
we're getting better,
yeah.
right?
And you know what? Believe it or not, they're actually less expensive. And
Which is good.
their laundry detergent is phenomenal. And because it is plant-based, it will get out any stain. Because it's
Yes.
enzyme based. It'll
Yep.
actually make your clothes healthier. Your cotton clothes don't lose their oxygen. And they're actually less expensive than buying the chemical induced one. And again, we just need to know it. It's a woman-owned company. It's a fabulous company. I've been using them for years.
And there, I will say, I do think overall we're getting better. Even I use the example Walmart, and I was sitting here thinking, you used to go to Walmart and you might find a handful of, let's say, gluten-free products, right? Now, if the Walmart is a center and they have food, I mean, in the one that is by me, they have a whole section. So I think because people are speaking up, voices are being heard, but we have a long way to go.
We do.
But I'll also tell you too that it depends on the demographic market of where those stores are located, of what's going to be in those stores. And that to me is just disgraceful.
I'm with
Because
you on that.
it insinuates that only certain demographics want or will buy these particular kind of products. And I do not agree with that philosophy at all. So again, that then goes to another point. People that are in a situation where they have to have assistance when they're purchasing foods and things like that. This is getting better, I know, but it has a long way to go as well. The healthier choices aren't covered with these cards and things like that. And so crap in gives your body crap, right? And so that creates this just vicious cycle where we're forcing certain demographics to eat things and use things that aren't healthy. So back to what we originally started talking about, how do these moms navigate this? And I really just think it's keeping this story alive, not letting up on being persistent about having these choices available for everybody. And then I also think it's a little bit of each person being proactive for themselves or their family, because you have to just say, no, I'm not going to be given an antibiotic every time I sniffle, right? Like, and that's the thing. In the old days, it is true that people went to the doctor said, you have this, you take this medicine, and they believed that what the doctor said was the holy word. And so they did what the doctor said. But we know differently now. And we know that we can heal with foods and with natural supplements and herbs and things like that. And so we have to, those of us that do that, we have to keep that story out there.
1,000%. It's so important because the reality is every medication out there started organically. It really did. It's so funny. I do a lot of traveling. I'm on the road a lot. We were talking about that before we started. I eat fresh blue cheese all the time. To me, that is nature's penicillin.
Yeah.
Think about it. And I really do. I get at Trader Joe's, I get this wonderful Danish blue cheese, take a little slice, put it on a cracker every day. That's what I do to ward off whatever kind of germs and things like that. I have my zinc drops. If I'm in a really crowded place for a while, when I'm done, I pop a zinc drop. Our bodies are designed to fight things, but we countermand them often. And I do think it is really important. And I think that we are starting to realize that we ourselves can take control, that we can hear what the doctor says and okay, great. And then, you know what? Do yourself a favor, go to the health food store, talk to the apothecary. Here's what my doctor wants me to take. What is the alternative? What can I do? And you know what? There are certain things, take that antibiotic. You have strep throat, you have some kind of a strep infection, take that antibiotic from beginning to end. Do not miss a dose.
Yes.
Other things, you can do stuff that is going to fight it and strengthen your body. So I think it is just so important. And I want to talk to you about the philanthropic work you're doing and how moms can help, Rhonda, because you're doing so much to raise awareness and using the celebrity life that you have with your husband to make people listen. And I think that it is really important. What is the sense of being somebody that people look up to and not doing what you're doing? So I love it. Talk to us about it.
And that's really what Wayne and I, that's where our heart lies. We've been blessed with this path that is well known and people love the music, and music resonates with people, right? The two universal languages of the world are music and food. And so because the music resonates and that we do have this path, we want to use that to raise awareness, not just for AERD. I mean, we do all kinds of things. We did just back in February in Louisiana, a friend of mine started something called Philip's Cottage, and it's a home where girls with their children can live once they graduate from a program in Louisiana that's not unlike the Teen Challenge program. And so we went and did it's called Songs and Stories from the Road. We had a few guys from the band. We had myself. I would tell stories. They would do the songs. And we did a fundraiser. We do things like that for all kinds of organizations because truly we are blessed with this life. But then for us, we want more from it. And that more that we get is to be able to give back. And so it's just truly a blessing. I would probably have us doing Songs and Stories from the Road every week if we could fit it into the schedule. But the touring schedule, especially because this year's the 50th anniversary of the band and Wayne's been in the band 45 years, the touring schedule is grueling. And so we don't have as much free space to do these things. But that doesn't mean that my work behind the scenes stops. I do probably 5 to 7 podcasts like this a month where I'm just constantly talking about this because just using the voice, telling the story, sharing my journey about being misdiagnosed and this disease, that was probably the reason I have it. One of the components is overuse of antibiotics, sharing this and getting this out there. If I help one person that hears your podcast, to me, that's huge because you know what that person's going to do? They're going to tell another person and they're going to tell another person. We're not going to change our healthcare system in a day, a week, a month, a year. It's going to be a long journey, but we have to start somewhere. And so, like I said, it's the rolling ball momentum. One person hears something, they share it with another, they share it with another. And so that's really where my passion lies, is just to share and to give back and to let people know there are other alternatives than just, here, take this pill. You know, and it's interesting. And the example I'm going to give is interesting too, because I'm allergic to aspirin. But if you look at alternatives, like white birch is an alternative that's nature's aspirin. So pretty much the basics that we have in chemical form, you can find our natural forms of it as well. And so why wouldn't we utilize those? I mean, the simple answer to that is big pharma. I don't even want to go there.
Let's
That's a
go
whole
there. Are you
nother thing.
kidding? Come on, pharmacies fund medical schools.
Absolutely.
Doctors get rewarded for giving you antibiotics. They don't get rewarded for telling you to go to the apothecary. Believe me,
That's
my
right.
pediatrician caught a lot of crud because I was one of the few families that wanted the alternatives.
Yeah.
And he was that doctor. You talked about it earlier. They don't know what's going on in your life. He would ask me, I'd be in for one kid. He knew I had the other. He would sit there and find out everything going on
Yeah.
in the family and stuff. And they, of course, gave him grief for it because they wanted him to turn over like this. You know what? This is what made him such a great doctor. He actually knew what was happening. So,
Yeah.
okay, let's look at why they're sick right now and what's going on and things like that. It is so important. So I think the work that you are doing is marvelous. Please keep it up and let me know how I can help. And as we're
Thank
wrapping,
you.
Rhonda, let everybody know how they can reach out to you.
Sure. You can find me on my website at rhondabnelson.com and also on Facebook or Instagram, Rhonda B. Nelson. And I love people sending me stories. I love to hear good things. I love to, if people are struggling finding resources, I love to help people with that. So please reach out to me. I just want to say to everybody out there, go with what you believe in your heart and your head, and don't give up. If you have a child or you're a woman and you're struggling to find a diagnosis, don't stop digging. One doctor may not give it to you. You may have to go from this doctor to this doctor to this doctor. I was in a group of people last night, and one of them says, my husband used to tell me this one thing because I had a knee problem and I wasn't getting any answers. And he looked at me one day and he said, just keep going until you find the guy. And that's true. Just keep going until you find the medical team that aligns with the way you want to deal with your body and your children's body. And that's the biggest and best advice I can give.
And that is great advice. We're going to have Rhonda back for the Author's Alley. I want to read her book, A Different Life. I want to hear these never before told stories and stuff and get some family recipes. You all know me. I love to read. So we will definitely have you back, Rhonda. And I thank you for sharing this journey with us.
Thank you.
AERD and letting people know what that is, but just we are our best advocates.
Yeah.
And as moms, fight for your kids. Don't just go along with something because the doctor said so. It's okay to tell the doctor, I'd like a different alternative.
Yeah.
And if they're not willing to give it to you, your health food store can. They have an apothecary on staff that can literally tell you, like you were saying with white birch and things like that. There are the natural alternatives that are going to give your bodies the ability and the strength to fight off other things. All it does is build up our bodies when we are taking natural things like allergies. You have seasonal allergies. A teaspoon of local honey within 100-mile radius of where you are.
Yep.
That local honey is what you're allergic to. Those bees are going to all the pollens, and that's it, a teaspoon a day. And you won't have allergies. You'll feel great. And you know what? It tastes good.
That's right. It does.
Mary
your
Poppins is right. That spoonful of sugar, you know?
Yeah, but it's natural. That's your sweet snack for the day, right?
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Honey has so many medicinal properties, people.
So many.
You have no idea. There's so much good stuff out there. Your stomach's bothering you, eat some parsley. It will calm your stomach. You know, I mean,
use ginger. Ginger is
I travel with ginger.
Yes.
I little candied gingers. I keep them in my bag.
Yeah.
And that way, if my stomach, I'm eating something that doesn't have a little ginger. So many things out there. All right, that's why we got to have you back. We're going to have you back, Rhonda. And all of Rhonda's links will be live. I encourage you, find out. There are so many great alternatives out there. So I thank you so much.
Thank
for taking
you.
the time to come today.
Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
It's been my absolute pleasure. And for all of you tuning in, thanks so much for being here. We're going to close out with our fabulous theme song from Smith Sisters and the Sunday Drivers. So till next time, this is Dori DeCarlo saying go out and create a marvelous you. Bye for now.
She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. Sure of herself, yeah, she takes care of biz, powerful and strong, yeah, she knows who she is, has integrity, woman strong and true. You know her by name, see this woman is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. Adds value and hope, has proved to be brave. See, it's never too late, never time to behave. Reaching for dreams, doesn't matter the age. Believes in herself, unleashed from her cage. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is true, she is true. She is brave, she is brave, she is bold, she is bold, she is you, she is you, she is you, she is you. She is sure, she is sure, she is strong, she is strong, she is